talk about a few ways that you can avoid a relapse. Now, there's so many tips that we can give on avoiding a relapse. I just picked 6 that I thought were really important and I wanted to cover today. So if you find these helpful, I can keep doing videos like this and keep doing more tips for how to avoid a relapse, because there's so many. There's so many tips, and some are big and some are small and some are easy, some are complicated, but there are a lot of things you can use, and the more kind of tools you have in your belt that you can pull from, the better. So if you find this helpful, let me know, and I'll keep kind of putting out tips and putting out pointers for you guys, and also just to kind of keep it fresh on your mind as well. So 6 tips to avoid a relapse. Now, the first tip is get support, okay? I know this is often a journey that we do on our own and kind of a struggle we try to fight on our own, but you don't have to do it alone. So when I say get support, that can be directly for what you're struggling with. So maybe a friend knows what's going on and you can call them, or maybe you join a community or a board and you can reach out to them and get support. Maybe your therapist, maybe people like us that you can reach out to even online and really get support with what you're struggling with. The other thing that you can do is just use people in your life to talk to. Maybe they don't know what's going on, but maybe you're struggling. You can call them and talk about something else, just to engage with somebody and kind of get your mind off it and get a little help that way. So it can kind of go either way, but the bottom line is don't go at it alone. You can get help and you can get support. The other thing that I think is so important is to distract yourself, all right? We talk about coping, and there's so many coping skills that I have and that I teach people, but sometimes you just need to distract yourself. You just need to get your mind off of what's going on. And sometimes that does help process it in and of itself. But get your mind off of what is going on. Get your mind off of that urge, which usually means engaging in something else, engage in activity, play a game, do something that gets your mind off of what it's focusing on now and it's hyper-focusing on, and put it onto something else. And in that same vein, another one that I wanted to mention was to wait it out. Okay, don't engage in the urge in that moment. Make a promise to yourself that you're going to wait, you're going to fill it out, you're going to put some time and space in between acting and the urge. So usually that space can give us enough time to process and work through, and really in that time reaffirm to yourself that this will pass. This urge is temporary. It feels like I have to act on it and I can't get through it right now, but you can. So work through that a little bit and reaffirm to yourself that you can and that it is temporary. Sorry about some of this noise. I'm outside right now. It's beautiful and lovely, but there is a little bit of noise going on, so I apologize. So the other thing that I think is really important is to change up your routine. Okay, we get caught sometimes in these patterns of behavior and we don't realize that our whole routine is a part of it. So maybe you go to work, you come home, you go to your room, you grab your computer, you sit down, and you start looking at porn. That is a whole pattern, and there's a whole chain of events that are leading you up to that, and you're just caught up in that cycle. So sometimes even changing one small thing in that routine can switch it up enough that you can manage it and you don't just go right into that habitual action. So maybe that's when you get home, you don't go right to your room, or you don't go right to your computer. Maybe you have some work to do, or you want to play a game, go to a public space and do it. Just switch up your routine in some way and see how that impacts your urges and impacts the whole rest of your night playing out. It can make a really, really big difference. So switch up your routine, switch up your cycle and your behavior. The next one is have a relapse prevention plan ready. You know, whether this is a huge issue for you or whether it's kind of a small thing that you're just trying to work through, make a relapse prevention plan for how you're going to stay away from pornography. Now, if you don't have one of those, I'm going to do another video on kind of the basics and what you should have in a relapse prevention plan. And we also go over this and help you in depth in the PornReboot program. So if you need more help on that, check those out. And we can definitely help you because this is so crucial and so important to lasting recovery. So have a relapse prevention plan ready, and have a plan for what you're going to do when you are really triggered or when things come up, and how you're going to manage, so you can better tackle those when they come, because you already planned and you've already prepped. The other thing that I think, the last one I kind of want to address here is to avoid the situations that you know put you at risk. Maybe that's certain friends, maybe that's certain movies, right? Maybe that's certain online sites, maybe that's certain games. Don't go there. Especially if you're really struggling, don't go to those things. I mean, it's just kind of putting the temptation right in front of you, and it's really difficult to just sit there and look at something like that and not engage in it. So avoid the high-risk situations. So think about that. What are your high-risk situations, and how can you kind of avoid them? And if you can't completely avoid them, how can you manage them a little better and make it so you're less likely to engage? So, the 6 tips that I have for you today: get support, distract yourself, wait it out, change up your routine, have a relapse prevention plan ready, and avoid situations that you know make it more likely for you to relapse. So pick one of those things to work on, try it out this week, see what you think, maybe try a different one next week, and just keep working on it. Keep trying, even in little ways. The little ways make a big difference in the long run.